The date is October 26th in the year 2023. My name is Anita Hecht, and I have the great pleasure and honor of interviewing Lupe Lopez to record some of your stories and memories of life here in Garden City on behalf of the Finnip Foundation and the Garden City Oral History Project. So thank you for agreeing to do this interview, Lupe.
You're welcome.
So just to set the stage, we're in the Community Congregational Church here in Garden City, Kansas, and you've lived in this town for almost your whole life.
Yes.
Let's begin with a little bit about you. When were you born?
I was born in Bryan, Ohio, in the year of 1930. It was...
September 12th?
September 12, 1930, in Bryan, Ohio.
And how old are you today?
93.
Wow, congratulations.
Thank you.
Tell me your full name at birth. What was your full name?
Lupe.
Lupe?
I'm assuming Lupe Lopez.
So that was your...
No, Duran.
Duran.
Duran was my maiden name.
Okay. And were you born in a hospital or at home? Do you know anything?
I think the hospital.
Okay. And who was in your family?
Well, it was my parents, my mom, and my father, and there were other children already.
Okay.
I had an older sister and a brother, and there were, like I said, there were other children, but I think those children, some of them died and are probably buried in Ohio.
Okay. Tell me just briefly, Lupe, about your family history, both your mother's side and your father's side, where they were from, how they got to Ohio, anything that you know about. Let's begin with your father. Where was he from?
I think he was from the state of Michoacan in Mexico. And when he left as a young boy. I think by himself. We never talked about how he got to America. All I know is that his mother was frantic looking for him because she didn't know where he was at. So she came to America to look for him. And she did find him. I don't know exactly where she found him, but he must have been living in Ohio.
Okay. And what did he do for work in Ohio? Do you know?
No, I really don't know. Except that I guess there were beets in Ohio too.
Sugar beets.
Sugar beets, yes. Because my mom said that she worked in sugar beets in Ohio.
Is that where your parents met?
Yeah, I think so. That's where they got married, in Ohio.
And what was your mother's story? Where did she come from, and how did she get to Ohio?
My mom was born in Mexico, and she was born in the state of Guanajuato, and I think the town was Pénjamo, Guanajuato. Mm-hmm. And she grew up there in Mexico until the family, this one uncle decided that he was going to bring the family to America. But he came to work by himself over here and did various things. And then he... When he thought he had enough money to bring the family over, then he went back. And one of the requirements was that those coming had to know how to write their name. So he made his wife learn how to write her name. Mm-hmm. And my mom, I guess, already knew how to write her name. Because I did ask her, Mom, did you go to school in Mexico? She says, she went for just a few days. She got into trouble, and they hit her. And her grandmother, who was really taking care of her, after that, she says, I'm not sending you back to school if they're going to hit you. And Mom said that was the wrong thing to do because I should have kept going. I probably got disciplined for something I shouldn't have done. So she didn't go to school in Mexico very long. Because once my grandmother found out what happened, she said, "I'm not sending you back."
Okay. But at some point, your mother came to the United States.
She came and she learned how to read and write here.
I see.
And she actually didn't go to school here in the United States, but she taught herself how to
Wow.
read and how to write.
And was she able to come here legally, do you know?
Yes.
So,
And my uncle, when he brought them all legally. And they ended up in Texas. And my grandmother used to say that she would make a hole in the ground fire and she would cook meals like that.
in the hole in the ground?
Yeah. But later on, I don't know the reason for that. They went to
Ohio. Okay. And that's where your parents met?
And that's where my mom and dad met.
Okay. And married probably sometime in the 20s, if you were born in 1930.
Uh-huh.
Okay. Do you hear stories about what brought them to Garden City?
I think there was kind of like a war going on. Mom used to say that soldiers would come and they would go in the homes and take whatever they needed or wanted. And I think that was one of the reasons they came to this country, I think.
Okay. So in Mexico, the reason for coming to the United States. But what brought them from Ohio to Kansas?
My grandfather had a relative living here in Garden City already. And they were going back, they were moving, and I don't know where to. So they decided to come, and then I think they liked it enough that they decided we're just going to stay here.
This was during the Depression years?
Yes.
Did they ever talk about what it was like during those years? Was there work, or
Well,
was it?
the only work for them available was working out in the fields, in the beets, because that's what was growing here in Garden City. And they really couldn't do a lot more because they weren't educated people.
So they could work with their bodies.
So they had to work with their, yes.
Were there other Mexicans here in Garden City working in the sugar beet
Yes.
fields? So there was already a community here?
There was a community of Mexicans working in
Okay.
the sugar, in the beets.
Okay. What do you know about that work? What did it look like? Tell me about a typical day of working in the fields.
Going out early before it got too hot and working out in the field. This was when the beets were just growing. But that even happened once they grew, and 'cause then there were knives where you had to cut the tops off and throw them to the side, and then there would be someone with a machine picking them up so they could take them and process them.
Okay.
And they had to go early in the morning so you weren't out in the heat.
Right. Were there hand tools, or was there already machinery?
Yes, there were. There were. Yes, there were hand tools.
Okay.
And there were even like knives to cut it.
Okay. And were they able to make enough money to survive and pay for? housing and
You
food?
know, that
and,
part I really don't know.
Okay.
But I don't think there was ever enough money.
It's pretty hard.
And they had to wait so long for the pay till,
Really?
till the harvest was kind of over.
Oh.
But I really don't think there was ever that much money involved.
Um, Tell me what happened next, because you came with them to Garden City, but you were very young when.
Yes, I was very young.
Do you
Well,
remember
and
anything about that first time?
No.
Okay.
I really don't remember anything about that part. The only thing is that once we got here to Garden City, then it's when my father decided he wanted to go back to Mexico. And so the Duran family, we all left and went back to Mexico. And I was still pretty young then. And we ended up going to where he had kind of grown up, in the state of Michoacan, in Mexico. And when he got there, there were no jobs either. And my mother told me, she said, I sold everything I could sell to buy groceries to feed the family. And the time came when I no longer had anything to sell. And that's when she wrote to my grandmother and told her that she felt like she needed to come back. And that's when we came. My father allowed her to bring me because I was still young.
How old?
I'm guessing I wasn't much older than maybe getting close to 4 months, maybe, because I was not even crawling yet. I was not walking.
Oh, you were very young. Okay.
So I was young. And I told my mom, well, what did you do with me? I said, my dad let you bring the hardest child because I couldn't walk. I couldn't do anything. Because she said we got to San Antonio.
Did they walk across the border or take a bus? Do you know anything about the journey?
No,
how you
I
and your
don't.
mother?
But my mom, I think, came back legally.
Mm-hmm. And you too, because you had been born here.
Yes. But she said, in the little money my grandmother sent her, which wasn't very, I don't know how much, but probably not very much. She says, we got to San Antonio and no more money. She says, but I got a job at a restaurant, but they didn't pay me, only for food. So she would go work and she could.
And what'd she do with you?
That was a question I asked, and what happened to me?
Uh-huh.
And she said she would sit me in a chair and tie me, and I would have to stay there till she got off work.
Oh, really? So you just sat in a high chair and...
I just sat there. And I said, you know, Mom, I'm glad I'm not retarded. Maybe I am and don't know it.
Wow. So that was in San Antonio, but at some point she came and brought you here to Garden City to come back.
I think when she had, I think she decided, okay, I have enough food that we can keep, and so it sounded to me like she was thinking of hitchhiking or walking, and I said, are you serious about that? I said, carrying a small child and whatever you had, that would have been very, very difficult. And she says, well, I didn't have anything else to do, what to do. So she started out that way, walking. And then, these big trucks, they saw her, they stopped and talked to her, and they said, lady, we are not supposed to pick up anybody, and if we do and the company finds out, we're fired. They said, but we don't see how you can keep walking with that child.
Mm-hmm.
And finally, they decided that you don't tell anybody, but we're going to take you as far as we go. Mm. And don't you ever tell anybody that we gave you a ride.
And they brought her.
Otherwise, we will get fired. And my mom said, well, one thing, I don't know anybody. Mm-hmm. So I'm not going to tell anybody. So I don't know how far we traveled, but we got
here.
But we got to Garden City.
And that was in 19...
Well, if it was
31
it had to be like in 31.
Right. Okay. So let's talk about your childhood now in Garden City. Your mother goes to work in the fields, and you...
Well, at that time, they didn't have child care.
Okay.
So she would take me with her. And so I would spend...
On her back, or...?
No, just... By that time, I could walk.
Okay.
And I could eat. and so... I just would spend all day out there with her. Uh-huh. And when I got old enough that I could do some of the work, then I worked too.
Then you started working. Uh-huh.
And
what are your earliest memories? What do you think? If you think back, what's the first thing you remember? One of the first things you remember? Is it being in the fields? Or?
In the fields, really.
Okay. And then at some point, I imagine you started school.
I did.
Where did you go to school?
At Hutchinson School, what is now the library.
Okay.
Of course, they tore that down and made the library. Mm-hmm. And so we would walk from Santa Fe to over here.
Was Santa Fe a Mexican neighborhood mostly?
There were two Mexican neighborhoods.
Okay.
And I lived in the one on Santa Fe, and then there was the one south.
Okay.
If that's south.
Okay.
And there were two Mexican neighborhoods. And the children that did come to school, then we would all walk as a group sometimes.
Okay.
And even if we didn't, it kind of became like a group because... But the bad thing was we had to cross the railroad tracks. But a lot of times there were just cars just standing there. But we would crawl underneath.
Underneath the railway cars?
Uh-huh.
Wow.
And so we could... That's the only way we could start walking and get to Hutchinson School.
So it sounds like it was a bit hard to get to school.
It was especially in the wintertime.
You crawled sometimes under the train cars. How was school itself? Was it...
It was good.
It was good? Was it mixed?
We had good teachers.
Okay. And was it mostly Mexican children or a mix of
It
everyone?
was a mixed, because I remember I was like in the 4th grade, and there came a letter that said white school. And I guess I was inquisitive. And I asked my teacher, her name was Mrs. Riston, and I said, what, do we have a white school here? And she says, Lupe, you don't understand what that means, but I'm going to explain it to you. That means only white children are going to school, and no black children I guess in no Mexicans, only white students, because this came like from Maryland. This letter, and she said, so we have to tell this person that wrote this letter that we don't have schools like that here. Everybody that lives here can come to school.
Okay.
But so it was. I guess it like she went to segregated school.
When you were going to school, did you feel that you were treated any differently
No,
than
no.
the white kids?
We had good teachers that just tried to help us learn.
And were you a good student?
I tried, and I no, I could have been better, but I just tried.
What did what was it like for you? You started school probably in the late 1930s and went through the time when World War II was happening. Did you hear anything about it or see soldiers here or hear stories when people came back from the war? I mean, you were still pretty young,
Yeah, I was still pretty young.
but was that a part of your
No,
conscious
and I guess it really
experience?
didn't impress me.
I think you said, though, when we spoke on the phone, that some of the Mexican soldiers came back from the war
Yes,
and didn't have a great experience.
my husband was one of those. Out of his family, there were 4 boys that went to the service that were of age, and I guess they were drafted. I
Okay.
don't. And he and his brother still were in uniform, and there was, I guess, a business like for cards and things like that, and playing pool. And the owner told him he was sorry, but he couldn't let them participate because they were Mexicans. And my husband said, I was ready to destroy that place. And I told him, we were sent from this country to fight for this country and for the people. And now we come back and we can't even go into a building because we are Mexicans. And we spend our time fighting. We could have gotten killed over there. And his job, I'm surprised he told me that, but his job in the service was finding the enemy. And I remember when he told me, he said, and you know something, Lupe? I said, no, I don't know anything. He said, if they would have found me, I probably would have gotten killed on the spot because they didn't want, because I actually.
If they would have found him?
It was all in secret.
I see.
But they said if they would have found me, they probably would have killed me because they didn't want the information to go back where this people, where the enemy was.
Sure. That's a whole other story. Tell me a little bit now, Lupe, about other things you remember about growing up here in Garden City. What did you do for fun, for example?
As far as I can remember, it was just kind of a fun life growing up.
What did you do for fun as a kid?
I'd love to skate.
Roller skate?
Roller skate.
Okay.
And my mom finally got me some roller skates. And I would go to the Ball Diamond because it wasn't far from us because they had nice cement areas. And I could put my skates on and just have a ball all by myself. Because that was something I enjoyed, skating.
Did you also go to the pool? I know there was a big
Well,
pool.
at that time, Mexicans weren't allowed in the pool. So that was another thing. But then I learned that some guys would go at night. And if they saw the police patrolling, they would just dunk themselves until the police were gone. I thought, how can you enjoy swimming when you have to hide yourself?
Wow.
But eventually that changed, and everybody could go.
You were a bit older when that changed?
Oh yes,
Okay.
I was already in nurses training
Okay.
when that changed, because my son would go and he started like me. But all his cousins were light, fair complected,
Okay.
and they'd say, "Let's go get a suntan." And my son would say, "Mom, I went to get a suntan." I said, "You don't need one. You're already tan." He didn't understand that concept.
Right, right.
And
Isn't that
then I
funny?
said, "So you don't need to be going for a suntan." And but I sent him through the Red Cross to learn how to swim. And he learned how to swim. But by the time he was old enough to go swimming, they did allow Mexicans
Okay.
to go swimming. And he says, "Mom, whenever I went, just because I was young, they made me swim the whole pool. I would swim it one time, and they made me swim it back. And I guess they wanted to make sure he knew how."
You knew how. Right.
And,
When you were growing up, though, do you remember the Mexican fiesta or other?
oh yes. The people that lived here were real staunch about celebrating that fiesta. And they would celebrate it by selling Mexican food, and it was just all Mexican.
So on the one hand, being Mexican was celebrated,
Yes.
and then on the other hand, there was still some discrimination.
Yes, yes.
Did you feel like it affected you, sort of your self-image when you were
At times
growing
I
up?
thought it did, but I had a mother that would say, "You know, Lupe, that is going to change. It has to change," and it did change. By the time I got to be like a junior in high school, things were changing already. And by the time I graduated, it had really changed. I mean, you could go in places where before Mexicans weren't allowed.
Okay. So it got better.
A lot better.
Did your mother continue to work in the fields for the whole time you were in school?
No, my mother started working for people, cleaning their houses.
Okay. And how about you? Did you go to work as a teenager? Did you do anything to earn money?
Would you believe I applied at a restaurant? I couldn't eat there, but I went to apply. And they hired me. But I could tell that some of the customers kind of resented a Mexican going to take their order, you know. And eventually I decided I don't have to work there. I want to work where I feel comfortable. And so I quit. But the owner came back and said, "Lupe, we really need your help. Can you come back?" But by then, what I did was get a part-time job at the hospital after school for about 2 hours was all. And I could see what was going on in the hospital, and I think that was part of what got me interested in nursing. And then there was a little German supervisor on second floor, and she always would say, "Mr. Wren, I think you should go into the nurses training. I think you could make a good nurse." And she kept telling me that till I thought, maybe she's right. Maybe I should try that. So I did. When I graduated from high school, I applied, and I thought if they don't take me, it's okay. But if they do, I will do it, and they did.
And that was 1948. Is that right?
Yes.
Okay.
And
And how long was the program, the nursing program?
3 years. The first year, you just worked in classes.
Right.
The second year, same thing, but
Started to do clinical.
But they did pay, I think, like $10, and the last year was like $20, and it was work and classes.
So $20 a day?
No, for the month.
Oh, for the month.
$20. So actually, back $20 was,
Oh, wow.
to me, it was, I'm getting rich.
Uh-huh. How did you pay for a school?
And I didn't. I think the fact that we worked there
Okay.
in classes, I think that's how
It was an exchange.
I think so.
Okay. And did you like a particular part of nursing better than another? Did you like hospital nursing, or did you surgical nursing? Did you specialize in any particular?
No, I really didn't specialize in any, because they made sure that they divided and had areas of learning.
That you learned all of them.
And then surgery, I liked surgery. But if it took all day long and I had to stand on a box, then I didn't like it.
Tell me why you had to stand on a box.
Because I was too short, and this doctor was tall. And, and I had to hand him instruments. And some of my gals would say, a doctor, I forget his name, had surgery today. Do you have surgery? Yeah. And I hated even the day to start because I knew what was going to happen.
But you made it. You graduated.
Yes. And this doctor, when I graduated, they were needing a nurse in a small little town, and he recommended me. He says, you should contact Lupe. I think she would make a good nurse for what you're looking for. Mm-hmm. But at that time, I wasn't ready to leave Garden City. And I thought, I need more experience now as a graduate nurse right here where I trained.
Mm. So you went to work at St. Catherine's? Or what did you do?
Yes.
Okay.
I worked at St. Catherine's.
For 12 years. I think that's what you told me.
Well, actually, I worked off and on there till I retired.
Oh, okay.
Then I went to work in psych. Psych was they had a problem keeping staff there. Oh. Uh-huh. And so I worked in psych.
Okay.
And that's where I retired from psychiatry.
Well, we have a lot of different jobs. I know you worked for the school system, and you worked for Head Start, and you worked for community health services. So
I worked for the school system, and I loved that as a school nurse. But they really didn't pay enough, and I had these two children, Josandra and her brother. And the son was getting ready to graduate and go on to college. And I wasn't making enough money to help him. Mm-hmm. And his dad was in the hospital. Mm-hmm. So and Head Start paid me a lot more money. So but I loved what I was doing. But the finances, then I decided, well, I need to go where I can make more money and help my child.
Yeah. Let me ask you about work a little bit more. Did you work with immigrants? Did you work with Mexicans? Did you use your Spanish?
Yes. With anything, yes. If they were enrolled in Head Start, yes. And
at the hospital too?
yes.
I'm curious what kind of health problems you saw mostly when you were working at the hospital. You said you worked in the psych unit. What kinds of things did people come in with in terms of illnesses?
Sometimes just depression.
Okay.
And things maybe weren't going right at home.
Did you experience big changes in Garden City that affected your work life in any way?
No.
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 Because I think from my understanding, over the time that you were living here and working, the city was changing in certain ways.
Yes, it was changing. The good thing when I went to work for Head, or I felt like it was a good thing, that I had a chance to make home visits. And I would talk to the parents and tell them, encourage your children to go to school, because they're going to need this education as they grow up. The field work one of these days is going to end, but they need an education to be able to handle other kinds of jobs. I said, and you as a parent are the only one that can encourage them, and they believe you, and to do as well as they possibly can, because it's important.
You're a great believer.
Yes, I became a great believer of education. I said, because these children are going to help run the country, but we need people that know what they're doing.
Yeah.
And so, encourage them that school is not just I'm going to school. I'm going to school, but I'm learning something. I said, and if they hear it from you, they believe it.
Did you work?
I said, because we need Mexican doctors, we need Mexican lawyers, we need all kinds of jobs, but in order for them to accomplish this, they have to go to school. I said, and believe that your child can accomplish something, but you're going to be the background to help them get there.
And were you mostly working with Mexican families?
With Head Start, it was
Start,
mostly
yeah.
Mexican families.
And at the same time, you had your own family.
Yeah, at the same time, I had my daughter and my son. And my daughter started college, but then she got married. And my son went to college and got with a degree in science. I think this is dumb, but I called him and I said, son, I have a meeting in Salina and I'm going to be there in time for supper. Can I take you out to eat? Oh, yes, he was real happy. So I said, okay, I'll be there and I'll take you out for supper. And you tell me where you want to go, because I'm not familiar with Salina. He didn't come. Finally he came, and I said, what were you doing that you couldn't come? He says, Mom, I had an assignment in chemistry. I had to put cockroaches to sleep, and then I had to wait till they woke up. I said, well, learn that good.
It was long before the days when he could call you on the cell phone, right?
And Well, the thing was, if he needed something in college, I usually didn't have the money to get it.
Mm-hmm.
But some way, somehow, we got through all of
You
this.
got through.
And, but I said, putting cockroaches to sleep, that doesn't even sound right to me. He says, but that was my assignment, Mom, and I had to do it.
That's a great story. So they really had more opportunities to lift themselves up than you did or than your mother's generation did. And
Yeah.
so
Oh, yes. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
I think all of us realize the importance of education because right now there are some professionals in the. I have is it a cousin in Texas that's a lawyer, has his office now. 'Cause everybody, and then some of the girls, most of them graduated, went to school, went on to nursing, and graduated from nursing. So I said, well, it sounds to me like you're running that hospital. Everybody's related.
Did some more of your family come up from Mexico ever? Did your father ever come back, or any of your other
No,
siblings?
it just says that we're here.
Mm-hmm.
We're here. But most of them then went on to school.
Mm-hmm.
And I think everybody realized, we can't live uneducated, and we have an
Right.
opportunity to get educated, and they did.
And that's great. Let me go back a little bit to your nursing career.
Okay.
What you were at the hospital, and you were then you went to work in the school system. What kinds of things did you see in the schools when you were working there? What kind of problems did you see among the children, or
Well,
did they change, I guess, over the years as Garden City again kept changing and new people were coming? And
I think one of the things that made me feel really bad is I had this young boy who probably was maybe an 8th grader, because he was working in one of these food places, and he got burned. He had this arm burned, and he came in, and I saw it, and so I took care of it. And I said, be sure and tell your mom. He says, my mom won't do anything about it. I said, are you sure? I said, this could give you a lot of trouble, and we need to take care. If she doesn't take care of it, I said, I'm here at 8 o'clock, and I'm here in the office. I want you to come in because I'm going to be checking this so it does not get infected.
Mm-hmm.
And I said, but you really need to tell. She says, Mama won't do anything about it. She doesn't. I said, are you serious? And I wanted to tell one of the psychologists at school, maybe this mother needs to know that she needs to pay attention to her child. Mm-hmm. He kept coming until I saw that it was that it was going to heal. And I also had the opportunity, if things got really bad, to call a physician and get his opinion about what I was doing. Mm-hmm. But I felt sad that that child had that attitude, like my mom's not going to do anything about it. Mm. I said, if she's not going to do anything about it, I'm going to be here, and you come every day because I'll be here, and I'll take care of it.
So did you see a lot of situations where people were in, bad family circumstances, either with neglect like that, or abuse, or just poverty?
If we did and things were real serious, we would try to make a home visit to really find out
Okay.
and talk to the parents. And I thought that was good because the parents knew, oh, okay, somebody's kind of watching, so they were going to try to improve.
Any other stories you want to tell about the school work or the hospital work?
I loved my schoolwork. I really loved that. You know, if somebody, and sometimes I know I had a child that I had to tell the secretary. I said, I think I need to take this child home, but I can't drive. And she says, don't worry about that. I'll drive and you stay with him, you know. So I said, because I just don't feel comfortable leaving him alone. He ended up in the hospital, and he might have had an appendectomy. So that job was what I considered a really good job.
Okay. And then you did also some work for the community health service. Was that a different job?
Well, I worked for Head Start, but Head Start I usually worked with poor families.
Okay.
But that was also good because when I made home visits, I always told them, you know, it's important that you get interested in what your child is doing in school and keep them there.
Did you notice the population changing, who you served? Because I know these big meat packing plants came in, and then a lot of new immigrants came in. Did that change your work? Did you see people who were
Not
new
really.
immigrants?
No,
No?
not really.
Okay. How long did you work until?
Well, for the schools, for the schools, I think I worked 2 years, and then by the time my son was going to college, and I wasn't making enough money in Head Start, so I changed. But I still kind of was working with kind of the same people.
Okay.
Because I thought, well, now's the time that I really have to provide more money to help my own child
Sure.
go to school. But he would, you know, how they give him time off, like several weeks. He would apply at Tyson, but one day he said, you know, Mom, Tyson pays well, but they practically kill you for your money. And so
What does that mean? What did it mean?
they gave him really hard jobs. And he said, so after he gotten paid, he came, he said, Mom, can I have some break money? I said, you just got paid. Yeah, but I put it in the bank. I said, well, let me see if I have some change.
So what was the work like that he did? What did he do there that was hard?
Well, I figure maybe he was hauling heavy stuff. Is what I think. I really don't know.
Okay. And did your daughter go to work too at some point?
Yes,
In high school or
yeah. Josandra worked part time. Part time, yes.
Also, where did she work?
She worked at a clothing store.
Okay.
And the owner wasn't sure. I wasn't sure about hiring a Mexican. And I said, you know something? Some of these kids are smart. And just because they're Mexicans, they need the experience. How else are they going to learn unless they have the experience? And she said, you know, you're right. And they hired her. And she worked for the schools. I was blessed because I only had 2 children, but they both were smart. Josanna was smart. My son was smart. And smart enough to put cockroaches to sleep. I said, I can't believe what you're doing in
Right.
school.
What other kinds of changes have you seen in Garden City as you've
I
lived
think
here?
that people are encouraging their kids to go to school,
Okay.
and I think that's great. I met this lady, and she said she had a son. He got his degree in, not as well doctor, but he was the ones that work on bones. What's the
Like
word?
a chiropractor?
He's a chiropractor.
Okay.
She says he's not a medical doctor, but she says, but I never expected to have someone in my family with a degree in a doctor. And I said, well, that's excellent. That's good. We need all kinds of people.
So you've seen people really be able to lift themselves up
Yes.
through their lives.
I think people are realizing, yes, education is important.
Are there any other big changes you've seen as you've lived out your life here?
A lot.
I mean, maybe just things like restaurants and stores and traffic and, churches or sports or
I
any...
think the whole town has changed, especially the feeling towards Mexicans.
Okay.
I
For the
feel like-
better.
I think they have kind of accepted us, and some of those of us that have gone on to school, and they get to know. Well, I don't know, but I keep thinking that they sometimes think, well, at least they're trying to better themselves.
You have family in other parts of the United States.
I have family in Texas, and now Josandra's family lives in Texas. Sarah lives in Colorado.
Do you think their experience is similar, or is Garden City special?
No, those kids, because I always told them, you kids have to, you kids have to do what you can for yourself, because one of these days you're going to have to support yourself. Sarah's an RN. She went to the college. Nancy got a degree. I don't even know what her degree. She graduated from K-State. So they all were trying to, after high school, to keep going and better themselves.
How many grandchildren do you have?
Oh my God, I have so many. And let's see, 4, 5, 6. I have about 8.
Wow.
And now the ones that are married,
They have children?
they have children.
So you have
too.
great-grandchildren?
So I have great-grand. And one of them, I was visiting with them, and his name is Silas. And he was sitting next to me, and he was watching Disneyland. And I heard this little voice. And it's this little Silas singing with them. I was so impressed. I told my grandson, Brady, Silas was sitting next to me. And he said, yes, Grandma, he likes to sing. And he was so cute. I said, Silas, I love that. I love it.
Oh, I bet you're a wonderful grandmother and great-grandmother.
I said,
So do you...
oh, Brady, I'm so proud of you. Now, he's the one that's married to an Indian. I don't know what kind or anything. But she went on to school, and now she's doing radiology.
Okay. Do you have any advice for your grandchildren and great-grandchildren?
That they have to go on to school.
So getting an education.
And leave drinking alone and drugs alone. That only gets you into trouble.
Was that a big problem that you saw when you were working, drinking or drugs?
Especially in psych. Some
insight.
people would come in because of the problems with that.
Well, it's probably not very easy for newcomers and immigrants to adjust when they move to a new country, when they move to a new town and start work. Do you have any advice for people who are coming here?
Well, I think they need to be people that like to, and most of them do like to work, and follow the rules and regulations of that city. Otherwise, you get into trouble. And once you start getting into trouble, that's not good.
Right. Anything else that you?
But I just loved it because I would tell the families that I visited, I said, this child is small, but keep him in school and you're going to see the difference. Once he starts learning there's something better, I said, he may even surprise you what he decides to do. I said, but you have to be the backbone to help him get there. And now I see some of the kids, and they'll come running, oh, Mrs. Lopez, how are you? I said, getting old, but I'm doing fine.
You are fine. Anything else I haven't asked you that you want to say about what it's been like
Well,
to
I
live
think
your
Garden
life
City
here?
has been a great place to really live.
Okay.
And even if there was discrimination at that time, so what? No country is perfect or no town is perfect. But we had to grow up and follow the rules and do what we could or can. And I think once that happened, that they thought, okay, this at least they're going to school and they're trying to learn, then we were accepted.
Do you think your mother was happy that she brought you back here and made that decision?
Definitely, she was. Yes, and she was surprised. See, I didn't even tell her I enrolled in nursing school. Once I was in accepted, I did tell her, Mom, because that program said even though you live in Garden City, you have to live here in the nurse's home. And I saw that this way they have control of you. They know exactly what you're up to. And I didn't mind that because there had always been discipline at home anyway. I couldn't go anywhere. Well, first of all, probably didn't have any money to go anywhere. But it was a good program.
And your mother must have been quite proud of you.
She was.
How long did she live?
She was 87 when she died.
Okay. And she lived out her life here in Garden City, too.
She got a job as a housekeeper with Dr. Losa's wife. And she had 2 children. Mom took care of her children. Her husband was drafted. And eventually, then she moved to be closer to him. And so the children would be close to their dad. And she took my mom with her, and she wanted Mom to stay, and Mom said, I would love to do that, but remember, I have 2 daughters that I need to be with them too. And in fact, her oldest daughter, Linda was her name, she would write and send pictures of her family to show to Mom, because they got attached to my mother because Mom was with them all the time.
Yeah, yeah. There's a lot of Mexican women who take care of children.
Yeah.
Well, I don't have any more questions for you, Lupe, and we're at about an hour.
I just think Garden City was, in spite of everything, Garden City has been a good town to live in. And if you try to live a life like you're supposed to, it's a good place to be and to live.
And you've got a lot more years left to live here, I think.
Oh, I don't know about that, but it's all I know is that Garden City has been a good place to live, and once people really get to know you, you're accepted.
Yeah. Alrighty. Good.
And so that's a good thing.
Yeah. And education.
And yes,
Get an
I'm all
education.
for education.
All right.
Because I say you need education to go out and because I said you apply for a job, they expect you to know how to read and write.
Sure.
And if you can't do that, how can you work? You need to know what what's expected of you, and what you're gonna do. And unless you don't know that, and the only way you're gonna get it is getting educated.
I hear you, and I agree with you. It's a good message to leave, and I'm going to close the interview with that message, okay?
Okay.
Thank you so much.
Oh, you're welcome.